The first week of OTAs ended yesterday, and the one thing that everybody wants to know is the one thing you can never really do a very good job of addressing. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place. Who looked good? It's what everybody wants to know. A young Pirates fan stopped into our downtown headquarters / shop. This was after the baseball game yesterday. DK comes in yelling, "Who looked good?" And I'm thinking, dude, did you see the ball game? No, I'm talking about the Steelers. Oh, who looked good? Who looked good? Well, I'll remind that it's football in shorts, that nobody's really hitting each other. Nobody's really even making meaningful contact. So to start off there, you're eliminating about, 80% of everybody who's participating? Yeah, you're leaving it down to basically the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. More so the wide receivers. Because if you see how the quarterbacks handle this, they know they're not getting hit. They know nobody's coming near them. And if you're Russell Wilson, my goodness, this dude handles OTAs unlike any quarterback I've ever seen, meaning he will just take the snap and stand there. His feet are planted. He doesn't budge. He knows what play he wants to execute. He waits for it to develop, and then he throws the ball, but he's not even pretending that it's anything other than OTAs. So how do you evaluate him? No idea. How do you evaluate the times that either he or Justin Fields scramble? No idea. Doesn't mean a thing. But then there are the wide receivers. Think about what they do for a living, and the same can kind of go for the people covering them, and that's all that there is. You know, they're running routes, they're trying to either catch a football, or if you're the defensive guy, stop them from catching the football. And that's why in these summer off-season workout scenarios, that's who you end up hearing about. All right, now that you have all that lined up, Ramon Wilson looked good. There it is. But he did. He did. And he also got some of the more genuine praise in the locker room. He did. Wilson brought him up by name. Said he liked a lot of what he's seen of him out there. Said he likes the kid's attitude. He likes the kid's edge. And there was a bunch of that, too. Wilson is, from my own perspective, an interesting case. And I'll tell you why. Anytime I'm seeing a draft pick, no matter how early in his professional career, who I think is either certain to be a starter that fall or has a really, really good chance to be a starter, I want to see one thing, one quality that really leaps out at me. And that doesn't have to be, George Pickens blowing you away with circus catches and having everybody say he's the next Martavis or whatever. It's more, for me, akin to when Deontay Johnson came in. The one thing that you'd heard about Deontay coming out of Toledo was that he was an elite route runner. Well, you saw that. You saw it right away. In fact, no matter how much or how little you thought of Deontay's time in Pittsburgh, the one thing that you can't take away from him is that he was, and I'm sure he will be, moving forward for the Panthers, an elite route runner. He really is. There are ways to measure this, and he's been a top 3, top 5 guy in the National Football League in this specific facet for years now. So when I watch Wilson, I want to see something where I go, whoa, that's what he's all about. Or, oh, no, it was this. And he doesn't do that. He doesn't have that singular branding to him. He doesn't come with a trademark. He'll run the route. He'll make the catch. He'll turn and go. Next snap, run the route, make the catch, turn and go. He'll give you some different looks. He'll handle different routes. with equal efficiency. But he's not super tall, he's not super fast, and he's not like super spasmodic athletic either. Run the route, make the catch, turn and go. You get the picture. Now, what he also has, and for all I know, this could be the thing that puts that imprint on who he is as an NFL wide receiver, there's something extra there to the personality. Can't quite place my finger on it yet. But there's something that dovetails with a lot of the stuff that you saw from him on film before the draft at Michigan, that you might even be able to detect from the handful of interviews he's done since he's been here, and that's that he's got some fight to him. Some junkyard dog, as Mike Tomlin would say. And I don't have to tell anybody listening to this show that Arthur Smith, his offensive coordinator, doesn't just value that in his wide receivers, he demands it out of them. Deontay wasn't going to be a fit here under Smith. He just wasn't. Smith doesn't just want his receivers to do this stuff. He needs them to do it. He needs everybody blocking. He needs every spot, every X on the field to take care of their O. Man, is it easy to tell that Wilson's going to be that guy. So there, how did I do? Wilson looked good. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, LGKG is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents people hurt in car accidents or who need help with workers' comp or medical malpractice. When the attorneys at LGKG make you a promise, they keep it. They've been keeping promises in our region for over 80 years. LGKG's been AV rated, the highest rating a law firm can receive, and they've been designated super lawyers. That's actually a thing for over 15 years. It's a rare combination. LGKG has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them by visiting lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. LGKG. Before I get to today's J1Q, I want to thank everybody who responded to yesterday's unusual episode that was really way more about Pittsburgh than it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. And most of that was attached to the NFL draft coming to town, what it'll mean for those of us here who love the place, who want the world to see what it's actually like as opposed to what it was like, you know, the way a lot of people still think about it, unfortunately, the steel mill days and so forth. Never know how a show like that's going to be received, but again, there was a lot of really good and in some cases elaborate feedback on this. Zach had my favorite. I'm going to read it as today's J1Q. He says, this is in all capital letters, "Say it louder for the people in the back, DK. As a born and raised Yinzer who's been living in Detroit for this past year, I can't wait to see us in Pittsburgh top it." You know, the Detroit example has been cited by so many people here over the past 48 hours, and the way that city responded to having an event of this magnitude right downtown, right there in what had been a very, very problematic area on a lot of levels for a lot of years. Detroit's proud of the renaissance that they've put together, particularly that it's come from right in the dead center of the city, as opposed to, you know, emanating or sneaking in from the suburbs or whatever. They just went right to the middle and started fixing things up. Now all of their professional sports teams are down there, and I can see where that would be a big thing for everybody there. In fact, I'm actually going to be in Detroit in a couple of days because the Pirates are playing the Tigers up there. But more than anything, what was heartening for me was to hear from the expats, to be honest with you. People like yourself. You've only been gone for a year. Some people have been gone for 10, 20, even 30 or longer. And to hear them say, hey, I hope this goes really well, or I'm proud of my hometown, are my favorite ones. I, too, am eager for people to see, hear, and read that Pittsburgh isn't, the smokestacks and the filth and the over-reliance on a single industry and all that other stuff anymore. It's not. It's a better place. A beautiful place. This was about, I'll share a little story with you here, but I'd say about 6 or 7 years ago, the Steelers were playing the Panthers in Charlotte. And this wasn't one of those preseason games. This was regular season. And I'll occasionally, for the website, I'll walk around a stadium and just take some photos or videos. And I was doing this on the downtown side of Bank of America Stadium and ran into this couple wearing Steelers garb and just looking around at all the other Steelers fans and everything else. And I asked them, just out of curiosity, you know how you can do this in those settings and you don't look like a weirdo? And I asked them, have you ever been to Pittsburgh? And they both said no, without any flinch, any hesitation, nothing. No. How did you get into the Steelers? And, everybody's got a different story. And, theirs was that they just, between them and their elders and the rest of their families, fell in love with the Steelers in the 70s when they were really good. And, of course, it was really kind of easy to do that because you just got to enjoy winning for like a decade straight. And that they hadn't really even considered anything about Pittsburgh. They just see them as the Steelers. And, by now you know me and you know enough that I would start selling the city to them and you got to come see it and everything else here because I'm just kind of like that with everybody, which is really obnoxious, incidentally. But the way that I think I sold this couple on coming up here was, you're not going to understand who or what the Steelers are until you do come up here. And not because you're going to find steel mills, but because you're going to see the kind of people, the real people that we have here, the no BS people. We have people who are warm, who are kind, who are generous, who are giving. But we come with, and I'm going to use this same term that I was applying to Roman Wilson in the opening segment, we've got our own edge to us, okay? You don't mess with us. And if you're around us even for a little while, you're going to get that, meaning all of it. And you're going to understand a lot more about the famous Charlie Daniels line about going and laying your hand on a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and how and why this city and this franchise became a single entity. It's one thing. It's Pittsburgh and the Steelers. You go overseas, you get in a cab, and cabbie asks you where you're from, and you say Pittsburgh. What does a cabbie say back to you? They turn around and they go, Steelers! That's just how it goes. We're one and the same. Never, ever separate Pittsburgh from Steelers. I appreciate the question. I appreciate all the feedback. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. There's another week of OTAs ahead. I'll be there. And we will do another one of these on Monday.